We are a tribe of like-minded and like-hearted individuals that meet to inspire and encourage one another on our collective journeys of growth and transformation. I am incredibly excited to introduce our guest tonight. Everyone here pretty much knows him, but Brian, he's been a huge supporter of the Quantum Healing Collective. He's done so many different guided meditations with us as a group. He has the best YouTube channel in the world. His content is helping so many different people. It's helped me tremendously. So what we're going to do tonight is we got a chance to actually dive in deeper. We're going to do a question and answer session with Brian. So any questions you guys have, Brian's going to answer them for us. This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited. So I'll start off. Something I've actually been curious of knowing is if you could take us through do you have like daily rituals that you do every day? Are there things that are part of your everyday cycle that you do that are part of your routines, or do you switch it up? I'm just curious.
I'm always switching it up. I'm one of those people, as you can tell from the meditations that I offer. Yeah. I get bored really quickly, man. Yeah. I don't like to be super repetitive with what I do every day. But I've been super fascinated for a long time with daily routines and morning rituals. I was taught by several amazing mentors when I studied neurolinguistic programming coming out of college that you can recreate anybody's success pattern by simply modeling what they do. So I've just found that I'm just like a collector of routines, and I try to find myself any book that I can find that says any success. So I want to find out what Michael Jordan does when he wakes up. Does he wake up with an alarm? Does he when he sleeps? Does he sleep with sleep sounds in the background? Right? When does he brush his teeth? How often does he brush his teeth? Does he have any routine before putting on his shoes? Does he think of something? I want to know. It's literally 24 hours a day. If you start doing that, and one of the best things to do is just start reading people's autobiographies. And a lot of times they'll slip them in. Or a lot of really great spiritual works, when people are talking about their own awakenings, they'll talk about things they did that put them into a state where they started to awaken. And so I've been a big experiment. I'm very, that's why I love talking to Raw of Earth so much. And a lot of the people that you've brought on into the Quantum Healing Collective have done that, have that same vibe, you know, constantly experimenting, because it feels like there's some level of consciousness that I can still reach. And it may be as simple as a certain breathing pattern or daily ritual. You know, once I started adding, you know, I get up in the morning, eat a certain breakfast, would work out, or then I would experiment, not work out before I do my workout, right? And what's better, you know, I used to be heavy into weightlifting and would eat 6 meals a day. And then I would try intermittent fasting, you know, and eat like just a little bit over an 8-hour period of time. And I've tried to kind of document what they were. I've always been super impressed by those people out there that are able to go back and measure their situation. Some people have the resources. You hear about CEOs that are doing the same thing. And what they're doing is they're testing their blood on a daily basis, looking at the exact adjustments in the chemicals in their blood so they can see the positive results. Some people that you have had on, you know, Troy Casey and Raw of Earth, will even taste their own pee to you know, I will not do that because I don't believe that, from what I've read, that it is of a benefit to me, but I can see kind of what's going on there, right? Yeah. So, and I have gone through a period of time where I kind of felt like I was, I would guiltify myself, like I didn't do enough meditating today. And I feel like, you know, I look in the mirror, I tell people, hey, I'm a meditator, but I really haven't been meditating. And so for a while, then I would change and experiment. I went through periods of time where I would meditate for 3 hours a day. And I would meditate for 10 minutes a day. And I would experiment, what's the best way? What's the best combination of things? And what I found is if you are constantly infinitely testing and not accepting a singular pattern, but finding particular patterns that are hyper beneficial, in particular, the way that how clear your mind is, then you can really start to do some pretty powerful and dynamic things. You've tried out the workout that I talk about in my book, the Fountain of Life and 5 Tibetans.
Profound,
there's a certain, right. And so for a while I would lift, Body Beast, and then I'd go to the gym, right? I would lift hard, lift heavy, try the 4-hour body workouts, lift, and then I would try, P90X. I'd try, mixed martial arts type workouts, UFC type workouts, those kind of high impact where I'm banging my knees, doing jumps, plyometrics. And then I compare, how do I feel after that? I do yoga, and then I'd start saying, well, geez, I feel 5 years younger, right? But then it would be a certain combination. You'd hit that certain vibe, that certain stretch, that certain accumulation of movements and activities and thoughts where you are in this state of really high levels of elation, right? And for me, sometimes it's been a whole experiment of a bunch of biologically of a bunch of things, testing out vitamins and biohacking myself. And the thing I need to do more of, which you've gone and done some cold bathing, and I need to add that to my routine. I do the cold shower, still not enough. It's not cold enough. It's never cold, and getting in the bathtub is just not, it's kind of like, oh man. So that's something that I know knowingly has enhanced my routine. But then there's a comparison between I've found in trying out my routine. If you lift heavy, it's a different kind of energy. It's a different kind of energy that you're adding to your body. And when you do the flowing freestyle exercises, the Qigong style exercises, that and I recommend Raw of Earth in his Kriya of the Week, where he has different things that can really accumulate your chi. And if I recommend anybody go check that interview out, and I did also got a chance to interview Raw of Earth, you can accumulate enough chi over a period of time through general pretty easy exercises and activities and behaviors over a period of time, where you really can have some amazing benefits. And in Raw of Earth's case, he was like doing CrossFit, things like that. So right now, my main routine is just a light breakfast, go work out, then heavy sauna. If I can do a cold bath, something cold, then I'll do that. Then I will meditate for 20 minutes or do one of my most recent meditations. Oftentimes I create meditations on the channel that I'm going to do myself, and I do those a lot, all the time. So everybody can see my office, my messy office with a million books, right? So yeah, there's a lot of interesting rituals that I've found different benefits from, and some are easier and better than others. But by integrating those rituals into my week, then I'm able to be super highly productive. I can, I'm at a point now with my podcast. I have like 40 episodes in the box, right? Wow. That's just by doing a little bit more here and there, right? I have, most of the book is written by doing it just a little bit more. And I got a lot of that from my dad. He was like an old farmer, and it was always just a little bit every single day. If you just do a little bit, I wanted to read like my dad. I was always just blown away. My dad was this amazing dude that could read so much, right? And I just like, how do you read? And I just read a few pages every night before I go to bed. Amazing. And I would look at these books that he would accumulate. And then I started, okay, well, I'll just read a little bit for, and then the next thing you know, I was reading like him, right? So, I have to consume information like food for me personally. So just as much as I need to eat, I need to consume, I need to read. And so I'm voracious and constantly, not just, I'm looking at images, and I also, during the day, I have to create, I have to do something to create. I can, it could be cook a new food. It could be a sculpture I want to try. It could be an idea I want to float out, but I want to start creating, and I have to create. And that's like food to me too. I need to be outside at some point during the day. That's like food to me. I need to have the sun. I need to have access to that quantum energy around me. And when you start to really treat your day like you're being of service, your every moment is of service, your every breath, then it becomes exciting, even doing those little things like, you know, changing the litter box and doing little things that you don't really want to do. So then it's not really a ritual anymore. It's just this joyful process of constantly elevating my energy, using and adding little different exercises all the time, and just slowly trying to become better and better every day, never really pulling back to that one routine.
Love that. Yeah, I hear you ask everybody on your show that question, so I figured I'd start by asking you.
Yeah.
I saw Rochelle had a question, so we'll go to Rochelle. And then anybody else, if you have a question, just raise your Zoom hand and we'll get to you. So,
all right, cool.
Rochelle, whenever you are ready.
Okay, first of all, I have to just geek out just a little bit, Brian, because I do love your channel so much. I've been listening to you for a couple of years, and I so appreciate and absolutely give you credit for some amazing things that have happened in my life. Listening to your podcast about manifestations and alternative universes, I can't think of the word right now, but anyway, you know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
But here's my question. This is where I always get into my block is, and you've talked about this, when it's not important, it seems to manifest, no problem. But as soon as it's something I want so bad, it seems to be so hard. So any additional tips that you can give on reducing importance? As you can probably tell, I'm slightly high energy.
Right.
So that is something that is a little bit difficult for me, but any tips you have, I would greatly appreciate.
So I think that understanding importance and its role in manifestation is really very comparable to like an artist that goes and has to draw that perfect line, and it's an art. It's a skill, like throwing darts a little bit. It's if you've ever shot a bow and arrow or a gun, there's that little moment where you can take a deep breath, or you can get the yips or lurch a little bit, and it's that little moment. The importance is important because it disrupts the energy flow of what you're trying to do, and it throws it off stream. So it's part of the process you're doing is trying to understand yourself in how you react to what's going on. The energy is great. That's your superpower. You want to use your energy as your superpower. So another level that you can go with importance, it's pretty easy. Oh, let go. But sometimes it's pretty hard, like, I have kids. My kids are important. It's always going to be important. How can I reduce the importance of my kids or my family? So this is not easy. It's easy to say cliche, but come on, let's all admit it, man. There's some things, and I've been the worst. That's why that reality transurfing appealed to me so much. Just like I won't make that comparison. I'll get myself in trouble. But you sometimes are attracted to things that you realize that's your biggest weakness. When I would be dating in college, I want that girl so bad. Anybody else, please? She's got to give me a chance. I'll do anything, whatever it takes. I made it so important. I was obviously the biggest loser in the world, right? She could tell how important I was making it, right? Relationships are always a good example or a metaphor for life. A lot of the way you act in the creation of a relationship is a lot of you play hard to get with the universe, right? A little bit. So, but there's a difference between form and essence when creating your reality, and supplication and actual creation. When you go back and it's saying, oh, just let it happen, or you're actually affirming and creating and intending, that's what you're doing. And you're assuming that you have this power of your words, where every single word that you say becomes true. And so you want to be in this role that it's very important that you go beyond just that one thing that you're making important, which it may not be. Sometimes you have unintended consequences with your manifestations that you may not be aware of. And that's because you're trying to manifest form. instead of essence. When you want to get the money will not give you the happiness. When you bring up the happiness that money produces, it's the same thing. A lot of times there's an equivalent that is an essence of what it is, that specific thing that you want. When you go for the essence, when you are scared of the thief that comes, but you want security. You don't want security from that one person, but then somebody else you're insecure from, right? So there's always a way to take it to a higher level than the specific thing that you want to manifest, which you can always do. But when you take it from the specificity and assume that it's for the good of all, it's for the, not violating anyone's free will. It's for the good of all. You're not manipulating anybody, because a lot of times your manifestations will be diverted if you're not even noticing, but you're still manipulating someone. You can end up manipulating people and not realize it all the time. So there's an underlying law that nobody's free will can be violated. So a lot of times you may be trying to do something and you don't realize you're trying to manipulate that person to do something they really don't want to do, right? So when you take it away from into essence, it's like the person, a more comparable thing is, I want to be with that specific person. And then we create a lot of importance around that specific person. Or I want to have an absolutely wonderful, loving relationship, the best one that I could possibly have in all my timelines. I want to have the most loving, amazing, perfect relationship. That would be even better. How do I know? As it always turns out, you end up with that person that you really want, and they were nothing like you thought. Right? They're messy, they have horrible breath, they're annoying, they have, Seinfeld, the whole series is an example of that. He would meet this beautiful woman, and then by the end of the episode, he's like, she's got, three toes on her feet, right? Or something crazy, right? So it's always an example. So when you give importance to something, you may be giving importance to a form. And it's easier to give importance to an essence, because that will not create a disruption in the energy, and it will still bring you the perfect result. And so you're always battling between form and essence. Remember, we're calling up the invisible world into the visible form world. The invisible world is the world that is actually creating the cause and effect. And so we're scientifically creating cause and effect when we affirm a thought, when we put words to it, when we enforce it, and that cause and effect can get altered or disrupted when you add importance to it, and it creates buckling waves of oceans. Another way for people to really understand the energy of importance, so that you understand that it is playing a role, is have you ever been to the Grand Canyon or some super high place, like, a skyscraper, and you can walk out to the very edge? Sometimes you see pictures that are really well taken, where people are like hanging by one finger on this ridiculous thing, and your heart leaps. There's an energy, and you feel like you're going to fall when you're right on the edge. But you're no different than if you back off a couple of inches from the edge. You're in no different of a state. Your body's still the same. Everything's the same. But when you walk forward and you're on that edge, there's this energy. That is the energy that importance creates, which is this energy that can cause the actual opposite of the thing that you want. It's hard to explain the feeling of it, but that's the feeling of that particular energy. If you were to put it in words that can't be really described, that feeling when you're standing on the edge, right? And that's the feeling that you think it's a positive thing that you want, but it's still that feeling that you're having, right? And it causes these unusual effects. If you throw the rock into the water, it's going to create a big ripple. That's the importance. And so you can't throw the boat into the water in order for it to get to its destination. You just have to let it flow. Oftentimes what we're dealing with in realities is streams of information that act like water. And so importance is a huge disruption that does not flow. You want to think thematically in the way that you apply your energy as if it's water, instead of explosive explosions or something like that, in order to get the proper result. At least that's what I've found.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
I
appreciate that.
Or Rochelle, it's Rochelle, right?
It is Rochelle, yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Rochelle.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rochelle. I love a quote you said there: play hard to get with the universe. I really like that. I see Uncle Randy with his hand up. Uncle Randy, whenever you're ready.
Oh wow! Now the pressure is on because my question has all changed from when I first.
Oh, it's all. What's up, Randy? How's it going, man?
It's going good, man. I so appreciate you being here and listening to this. I'm a business owner during my daytime stuff, and one of the things that I've learned to do in the past several years is go to other business owners, other people that are highly successful within the communities. And my question is always, what do you have to do? What is your must thing that you have to do every single day to be successful like you are? And I just love the answers that I get. And so I love the initial start to this whole thing is, what do you do? And I want to confirm, what I'm hearing you say is, yes, you have your routines. Yes, you have your things you must do, but you're constantly reevaluating and changing what those things are. And while today certain things serve your needs to the utmost, but tomorrow those same things may not be quite as important, and you need to move on to something else. So you're always looking for new things, new ideas, new thoughts, new must-dos for your daily practice to try them out and make sure that you're always basically on top of your game, because you're always consistently looking for the new thing. And I'm starting to ramble, but
No.
basically that's kind of what I was picking up on that. So
yeah, you're right. The system,
a person could easily get in a rut if they pick their must do and they only stay there.
It's so true. Even the best, the people that I've really respected for a long time, even the best always seem to really get stuck sometimes. Some routine works perfect, and then it's too late. The system that we want to adopt is constant evolution. That is the way that nature works. Nature is constantly evolving. That's how our society has worked. That's how humanity has worked. That's how technology has worked. That's how your soul is working. And we're in this incredible multidimensional environment where the energy is completely transforming, and we're getting more and more information all the time. We're getting more and more energy all the time. And it requires us to learn fast lessons, which somebody might have taken weeks and weeks and weeks to adopt. And that lesson, now we learn it in 3 days. So we might do that meditation that some people take 90 days to learn. We do it in 3 days. We have the lesson. There's a click that goes on in our mind. It's a part of us. It's integrated into us, different than it was in the past. The energies that we're dealing with are so evolutionary. We're evolving. It's constant evolution all the time. And that is what is so exciting about it. And so I think you're right. So take your things that work, constantly look to evolve, improve a little bit more, because once you stop evolving, then you start devolving, right? So I want to keep on evolving for a long, long time. That's at least my mindset. That's worked for me. Thank you, Randy.
Thank you, Uncle Randy. I see
Uncle
Patricia,
Randy, that's right.
I see Patricia with her hand up. Uncle Randy actually found us via the interview I did with you, and he's from Texas, so we've adopted him as our uncle.
Sweet.
To the group.
All right.
Patricia, go ahead.
Hi, Brian. Lovely
Hello.
to finally see you in person.
Hey,
I know I spoke with you on Facebook. I've been doing your meditations, and I am interested in knowing your thoughts a bit more on the 5D, New Earth, the collective reality. And I'm wondering your thoughts in regards to shifting. I was able to attain a level of consciousness for about 2 years, but wasn't able to maintain it. I had things happen, and I'm trying to get back, recreate my new timeline, of course, based on your meditation. But I'm also wondering how this is working, or what your mindset is on the collective. Is it something that we're all trying to achieve? Is it something that we go individually? Or because there's such a mass awakening right now, and you can see it collectively, all over the world. I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on what's happening in regards to that.
It's a great question. And I've dedicated a lot of time to really thinking about that because I started to see it in everything that I was researching and studying. And you guys have heard even stuff from 100 years ago is talking about what's happening right now. It seems like everybody's talking about Neville Goddard's talking about what we're going through right now. It's like we were put in this moment to deal with this particular thing, and it feels unique and special, as if something in particular that we're going through is what we're here for. A lot of the people that are attracted to my channel tell me the same thing. They're called to this information because they feel like it has a part of their own life's purpose. And as I had talked about on that recent episode where I was, my journey with the trees, I do believe I'm starting to see this fourth density experience that's starting to happen now. It's happening now. The new earth is starting to occur now in my own physical impressions that I can sense with my senses and can see and tell you with my own heart that the new earth is happening. It's been frustrating for a lot of people since 2012. A lot of people waited, and then 2012 hit, and then they felt like it was a big letdown. There were so many discussions, the Mayan calendar, and so many different things, even in the Law of One material, made that year very important. And so after that, a lot of the discussion about the new earth sort of was treated as if it was disproven, and so there's been a new field that sort of analyzed this. And when I started my channel, I called it the Reality Revolution, because I felt like something had been happening in the planet. It was a personal observation, and I had envisioned the podcast as if I was just a newscaster reporting from the reality revolution as it's happening, as this whole world starts doing these crazy changes, and we become aware that what we think is reality has changed, that what we understand is the world around us is not even close, and it becomes accepted in the mainstream. And it's starting to happen. We've been slowly raised into this by some sects, and some have tried to stop and separate us. You talked about the collective. And so to reference back to the Law of One material, which referred to the 2012, the transition to the new earth, or the fourth density is what they referred to it, or as Dolores Cannon refers to it as the fifth dimension. That transition to this other thing is a level of consciousness that we're moving towards that is very powerful and obvious that we're going through, and what it means and the implications of it are crazy. You get the feeling that this is an experiment the earth is going through, and it's never really happened like this. Like every planet has its own big transitions. It's like watching that butterfly come from the cocoon. All these entities are watching us because it's super unique what we've gone through. We have a whole planet that's in third density now, made up of super selfish individuals from many other third density incarnations that don't necessarily go the negative path, but it's very difficult for them to really work or think about others or the collective. And also, it's been a society very, very powerfully manipulated by service to self to make thinking in the collective as if it's some sort of crime. Politically, you get people that say that, hey, thinking collectively is communism, or they make it a political thing, that it's not spiritual. Remember, all of spirituality has nothing to do with politics. It only has to do with the truth, but it's always politicized. It's always dogmatized. It's always evilized, right? So there's the idea of us working in a collective for a lot of people is this a terrible thing. Oh, globalism is terrible, right? But there is something else that goes beyond just the political ramifications of it. There's a connection forming with the people on the earth, for a certain number of people on the earth that are open to this idea. They're awakening to the idea that we're in this density and this final part of the quarter of the game. And we are here to make a choice. And for some people, it's taken us millions of years and multiple planets just to make this single choice. What's the big deal about this choice? It goes beyond just saying it out loud. It's an actual soul level choice that you have to make. And that is, what are you going to give your service to? I mean, are you going to just always be serving the ego and the self and serving your pleasures and your own personal needs, your own country, your own city, your own state? Or are you going to be in service to others? And are you going to realize the oneness of serving others? It's when I say service, a lot of times people get this idea that it's like labor. It's like work I got to do. Yeah, I want to do it, man. I want to be a service, but I don't really want to work right now. I mean, there's a lot of people that have this thought that immediately is invoked that it's a struggle, that's something that they have to do. But service is not that. It's spiritual. It's the ultimate spiritual thing. And service is an understanding that you can look at somebody, and in that moment, and I know you've all experienced this, and it's happening more and more, going through the grocery store, walking around the clothing store, and I see somebody and I've never seen them before. And I instantly know everything about them. I know what they were like as kids. I see the beautiful version of them that they could be. I see them glowing. I know everything. And then all of a sudden I'm them. I'm looking out of their eyes and they're looking at me, right? And when and in that moment, suddenly they're me. And so when I invoke something for myself, I'm invoking it for them. And so in that oneness, whatever I can do of service for her, I can do for myself. And then the oneness is not necessarily, it depends on what you do with service. If you're doing service for someone to get something, to get a result, to get that positive result, then you're not really doing a service. You're still trying to do a service to yourself. So it's a tough thing. Why is it taking people millions of years? It's because of this lesson that we have to learn about love. And it is not a cliche. It is a difficult lesson. And once we learn the love lesson, the collective starts to form in a way that we haven't really experienced before. In the law of one material, I've said it multiple times in the podcast, but it's good to repeat for people because it's complicated information, is that when they moved to fourth density on Venus, they did the same thing. There was a new Venus, right? There was a third density Venus. When they moved into third density, it was a social memory complex. And they formed, and then a certain portion didn't quite make it, but it was sexual in nature. They were dealing with sexual energies where they came into contact with intelligent infinity. It doesn't necessarily have to be sexual on our part, but it's more than just being of service. It's the collective portion. Moving into fourth density, you can do on your own, but the transformation into fourth density of a social memory complex is a whole other thing. So this is happening slowly, and your subconscious and your higher self are slowly trying to reveal it to you so you don't go insane. Because we actually have access to more of it now that we're in pure fourth density. But there's a really powerful connection between your heart and your higher self, and they would not want to freak you out. If you woke up in New Earth fourth density consciousness, you would see energy balls, you would see fairies, you would see sylphs, you would see fire spirits, you would see all kinds of unusual things that do not make sense. And you would get crazy. You'd start imagining things and you would see them instantly appear. And then you would imagine even more and it would kill you. You would imagine your own death very, very quickly. So you don't want to have access to all this right now, at least. But I say I'm ready. But I'm ready because I took the time to get ready and prepare and understand these concepts. It's not hard, but for some people that don't know about it, it's going to be hard. So what's happening now unconsciously is that everybody has access to the Akashic record and they don't know it. In the past, you had to go through some very elaborate procedure to access the Akashic record, or say some specific chant, or go through a ritual. And now it's just there like the radio. If you ask questions in deep meditative, in a deeply meditative state, in a theta or even alpha brainwave level, and you'll start getting answers. You're not going to trust them. You think you're crazy. You start asking questions. I want to know what happened on Atlantis. You'll start getting answers, right? And then there's something that happens when we collectively start working together for each other. We start solving our problems and healing together. This bond that starts to form, it becomes more of a glue, and we start becoming, there is a collective unconscious that will form, and it will be both a group and everybody will be individualized at the same time. And it's a really exciting thing. We'll have access to a whole other level of the internet that we can access through our minds and through our own consciousness. And then slowly we'll start to understand with these lessons that we are more than just this physical vessel, that we live in third density, that we are actually made up of light. There's portions of our DNA that are made up of light. And as light starts to interact, we will become light beings. And then once we become light beings, we can travel the universe instantaneously, as faster than the speed of thought. And we can travel the universe. We can meet other societies. We can understand and embrace other groups. And we'll be ready to do this when we start learning these lessons, because we cannot be unleashed on the universe if it's all about us. That's what we're learning this lesson. We have almost been kept here, maybe like a prison for a while, because we're not ready. And now it's time for us to be ready and for us to get other people to be ready. Sometimes these are simple lessons that people are refusing to learn. I meet so many people that still think that the world is a random event that's happening they have no control over. And that is such a terrible shame that they're doing that. So collectively, we can start to come together through. I always have a meditation, and you do them on Quantum Healing Collective in group meditations as much as you can. But another thing to remember, all the meditations I do are non-local. so that you can do them, and you're always in a group meditation anytime that you do a meditation on my channel, you're doing it. And I promise, if you go through the YouTube, when I see the views, there's always at least 9 or 10 people doing the meditation at the same time you're doing it. I can go through my YouTubes and on my meditation, that's something I always got excited about. Like if I go do this meditation, an old one from a year ago, there's still people that are doing it at that same time. So you're then in a non-local event where you can still use the collective. And so start thinking in these collectives, people will start to notice that this collective consciousness that is starting to occur has real power and is believable, and the mainstream will start to accept it. It'll change everything. And then suddenly what is really mentioned in one of the Quo material that I am so excited about is that when they, I believe that they're talking to Oxal from Arcturus, who's part of Quo. And Oxal said, you know, once we came into this understanding of the social memory complex, that we, any problem we had, maybe something like global warming that we have, right? Where events or climate, extreme climate happen or more and more, and we can start to see negative causation. And people say, well, what can we do about that? There's no way, are we really going to be able to cut down the temperature? But they would all sit and think about it together at the same time, and the problem would be solved very quickly. And imagine if the whole planet collectively addressed whatever problem that we had and we started to solve it. We're going to solve it the way we solve now. The manifestations happen now. There will be a bridge of incidents that the scientists will say, well, that was the actual cause. But the real cause is that we went into the invisible as a collective. And we started moving beyond our own personal needs, whatever money that we need or health that we need or our family. And we started really looking out and thinking about everybody else. And I see somebody and I see that they're me, and I see everybody's me constantly all the time. Everybody's me all the time. And I desperately need to help them. I desperately need to help them, and I can help them without any money that I have in my pocket. I can help them with the love that I have when we become aware of our divine power. And then we become these like really awesome superheroes going around. When I felt like I entered fourth density, let me tell you about that. When I felt like I entered fourth density, when I was in Mount Shasta, I had briefly just been thinking of, I think it was somebody, something brought that thought to me, is that when you are in the fourth density, you create life. When the ultimate power, you're a creator, but you're creating, but you can create a boat, you want to sail a boat, boom, right? But the real power, what it's really about is that you create life. So, you know, imagine if I make this pen alive for life eternally, that it can then change forms, and I give it ultimate power. And then it can go on its own journey, right? Imagine if you have the power to name any object and give it eternal life. And so then I felt like I had the power. I knew I had the power. And I was going around in every tree that I could see or touch. And then they started responding to me. Like, whoa, what just happened right now? You know, hey, come back. Talk to me about what did you just do? I could feel the rocks, I could feel the flowers, and I could see the aliveness. Because really what we're experiencing as we move from a single individual body into the new earth is we're moving very much like the body. When you see cells in an individual, they act individually, they start to work together and they form your kidney. So what we're doing is we're creating living cells in this earth that will become something by itself as an individual. Now, Neville Goddard claims a vision that when he was brought to the promise, that he saw this body, this huge body that was made up of all the souls of earth, and it was a single living body, right? So that living body is what we're moving towards on some level. And there's obviously portions of this body that are completely different than ours. The brain is completely different than the stomach, is completely different than the kidneys. And we sometimes see those people and we see they're different, but we're still part of the same body. So we're slowly going to learn the oneness. The lesson of oneness will bring us to this power. What the law of one material indicates, that this happens all on other planets all the time, all over the universe, in many, many galaxies. And it is the discovery of the law of one. When you read some really fascinating texts out there that define what the other aliens are, they all are in honor of the law of one. The law of one, even the negative groups, they can't help it. There's no way they can disprove it. It's the truth. The law of one is the primary religion of the universe. The law of one thought, that everything can be seen when you can see the one thought in every. So, sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, there? No.
You're coming in a little muffled.
There. All right.
Yep, you're good.
That's what I have to do all the time when I record my stuff. You guys never see it though, because I just go back and start hitting play. So what we're talking about is that the collective becomes this other functioning unit that will actually become a living being. And so what I find fascinating is when we go back to Ra, that the entire social memory complex came into a single being and came to Earth in helping create the Great Pyramid. Imagine all of us as one single being, but still individuated within that consciousness. It's super amazing, right? So I'm fascinated by it. And I'm open to admit that I'm wrong, and I'm still trying to look and find more information, but I can conclude that something's going on. We're going through a shift. The change is happening.
Thank you. You've actually confirmed everything that I've already known. So thank you so much for the information, and it's good to resonate with somebody else when we're going on that journey. So thank you, and thank you again for your meditation. They've been a blessing at night, and you are my morning routine, by the way. Something wonderful is happening every day. Put that on every morning. You're my morning routine.
Fantastic.
So, okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Patricia. Thank you, Brian, for being a pioneer and absorbing all that information and breaking it down for people like us so we can open our minds. I mean, it's been truly transformational for so many of us.
That really means a lot. You don't know how much it means. It does.
I see Eatane with a hand up. Whenever you're ready.
Yep. Hi. Hello. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Brian. How are you?
Hello.
Okay. So I do have a.
Uh-oh.
Eatane, you're muted. Go ahead.
Okay. Am I okay now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So I just like to say that I have actually just discovered you recently through the Quantum Collective group and through the meditation that Carl has been sharing. And I did one last night about, I think what Carl shared, one of them about the heart meditation was really powerful. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
So my question is, actually the question came from maybe about a week ago, right? I was just, I was on the YouTube and a bunch of the meditation came out, and I just randomly picked one. And throughout the meditation at the beginning, when there was a relaxation of part of the body, I noticed something that's actually I was drawn to about relaxing the legs and all the ligaments and stuff like that. And I thought, oh, this is something that I was studying about. And then sure enough, in a few days, there was a meditation that I randomly click on where you talk about Jose Silva, right? So I have actually come across Jose Silva just recently, and I'm doing some of the online courses. So I would like to know your thoughts about the applications of, studying brainwave and making, putting ourselves in alpha and theta brainwave. How much do you use it? And what's the application? Like, what's the application that you would suggest on in terms of for someone that are actually on spiritual journey like myself, or in any kind of manifestations?
The Silva mind control technique is probably one of the best techniques that anybody can try. If you check out the ones I've done, it's partially because I've been able to record the Robert Stone material, and he wrote a lot of the Silva mind control with Jose Silva. The reason it's so amazing, it's so simple. You don't need to go actually read even the full books. I mean, it's the simplest thing. If you close your eyes, roll your eyes up at a 45-degree angle, and breathe slowly and go through your body and really relax your body. The process of going through and scanning your body, going through your feet and your ankles, really breaking it down. The process will take you into an alpha brainwave state very quickly. Sometimes you can do a countdown. They recommend a countdown in some cases. Sometimes you get really good at it and it's fast, but you can do it in about 20 seconds. And then you can do some amazing things. If you can send thoughts to others, like a communication. You can imagine certain environments. You can change certain feelings. You can change circumstances. And I have a sleep meditation for if you ever want to psychically communicate with somebody. Like you have a job interview tomorrow, do the silva mind control technique, roll your eyes up at a 45-degree angle, and then tell yourself, I want to wake up when my mind is in perfect sync with this person. And then you'll find yourself wake up at like 4 in the morning or something. You don't know why, like you're jolted awake. And then you send them the thought in that moment. It's like they're there, like they answered the phone, right? And it's like that you send out a phone call and then it's just kind of ringing all night. And then they answer the phone and you wake up and you can send them a message. Only do this with people you really want to send a psychic message. And if you, you live with somebody and you sleep together, try this as an experiment. But send these thoughts to each other, and you can find it. You are connected when you do this. The process of changing your brainwave is very important. It enhances your affirmations. It helps to go into your subconscious mind. The brain, when it's in an alpha level, tends to be more in sync or coherence to the heart. And being in coherence to the heart also magnifies the energy and the directness, the singular concentration of the energy that you're using. Silva mind control is super easy. I recommend checking out. You can use it for business. You can use it for quitting, any addictions that you might have. And there's so many applications to it. I've talked to multiple trainers on my channel, and I keep on exploring it, and I definitely recommend it. And you may at first think this is kind of just too easy. And that's why it's so amazing. It's actually pretty easy, A lot of times people make things a lot more complicated than they really are. And a lot of times you'll see something and you'll say, well, that seems too easy. It's probably can't be that big a deal. But it is. It really is. They were the first ones who really started experimenting how to change your own brainwave state consciously, and then how to use that new consciously adjusted brainwave state to do whatever they want to do. Right.
And do you use that often yourself? Like, do you find it super applicable?
I've been using it for 30 years. I've been using it, ever since I first learned about it. I use it all the time. And you hear me using the Silva technique in dozens of my meditations. I use the relaxation procedure. I've used the countdown, and because they work. They're simple and they're fast and they're powerful, and they really do work.
That's wonderful. Thank you. I just wanted to know, whether that's applicable, and because I'm still really new, I'm learning it. But yeah, I was so excited when I heard that in your meditations. I'm like, I'm learning about this stuff. So that's cool. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Yatane. I'm glad you're enjoying the heart coherence meditations.
That was lovely.
Tallulah, whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Hi everyone. It's great to be here. It's my first Zoom with you guys. Relatively new to the Reality Revolution. It's been absolutely fantastic. Apparently on YouTube, and I've joined you both your groups on Facebook. My question's a bit twofold, Brian. So you've got a lot of fantastic stuff out there. Where do I start? I've been doing some of the Akashic, and I've been doing some of the higher self stuff, and I've just started doing a bit of the Quo and the Ra, and then there's the Psychiana, and I don't know what to sort of like concentrate on. There's so much good stuff.
Well, let me explain how I did those episodes on my channel. I mean, I have tried to never repeat myself in a single episode. So I just recorded the 777th episode, and I've never repeated myself. Some of it's similar, and unfortunately at the very beginning I spoke way too fast. So a lot of the earlier material, you may have to slow it down. You can do that on the YouTube. But, I do recommend if people want to really fully access, start from the beginning, from the first one, and then in order, because I start talking about the subconscious. I introduced the reality revolution. I introduced how to hack the subconscious emotions. And then as I started to learn, what you're seeing on the channel is my own discovery process. I'm awakening to this stuff because I didn't know about it. And a lot of times what you're seeing is I'm learning about that stuff as I'm reading it. So you're in the learning process. You'll be quantumly entangled to how I learned about reality transurfing, or when I discovered Neville Goddard, or what I learned about Quo. If you go back and if you just want that particular thing, go to the first Quo episode. I always introduce the author. If I do a new author, I'll give you them background and go into their history in the first one I do. I won't ever repeat that. So the biggest benefit for somebody that really wants to access and get the full use of the channel is to go in order. Now, unfortunately, I apologize. because some of those first episodes, I am full speed. I mean, because my brain, I'm still finding myself to be slow. And when I'm reading on these episodes now, it's hard for me because I have to really slow down. So, but I did, you'll notice maybe it took me 50, 100 episodes. I started to slow down a little bit there, a little bit easier to get, but that's how I would do it. So if there's something that really you're drawn to, that you're dealing with, if it's the Akashic, then I have a playlist on the Akashic, just listen to those in order. And that's probably the best ways to access that material. I think you had another question too.
Yeah, how can I better remember? I tend to go quite deep into the meditation. I also do them at night to sleep too. How can I better remember the things that I learn in the Akashic record, or when I'm with my higher self? Or like today I did one, I can't remember which one I'd done that you put up yesterday. I did one. I'll think of it in a moment. I tend to go very deep into the meditation, and I don't. Past life regression I've done this afternoon.
Mm-hmm. So memory is one of the most important things. It's really hard to deal with. And one of the things that's happening is we're dislocating from memory a little bit as we move into the fourth density, because a lot of our memory is in the Akashic. So it's easier for our subconscious to kind of vent some of that stuff off. And so you can access that memory. You remember what it was like when we were kids and we didn't have the internet, and we remembered a song, and we were like, and you got that song, and I don't know the name of the song. I got to remember. Now we can just look up, we can have it within seconds, right? But before it was like, I got it. What is that song? Who was that? You start singing the song. Somebody else says, I remember where. That was how it was in the old days. And now we can just look up a song. It takes us a couple seconds. We got Shazam. We can do it, right? That's what the Akashic is sort of like, but we don't know that we're using this app, this fully functioning app that we have all of our experience and memories and everyone else's is still available to us. So the memory's there. One of the really frustrating things about higher density experiences, higher conscious experiences, people that do DMT will tell you this, these really, or amazing LSD experience, it's hard to remember. It's always frustrating. You like want to write it down right away. Like the higher the conscious level, of the more intense the power of the level of experience that you have, the more likely you're going to forget it almost right away. Sometimes in the moment, you're like, oh no, I'm going to forget this right now. This is so perfect. I'm going to, it's so frustrating. So memory is that thing. How can we keep that moment? And so you can anchor yourself to some memories, and you can learn how to become more concentrative. There's a lot of really good mental lessons that you can learn to become concentrative, more in the moment, slowing yourself, becoming more mindful seems to incorporate larger amounts of memory in that situation. Being aware, when you walk into a room, are you aware of everything that you see? Or is it just like a blur of things that you look for in particular? And as you start to do that, you'll become more aware and remember things easier. And you can make it your intention. That's probably the most important. You make it your intention that you remember, that if you have an important memory, that you write it down, you give her some way to record it. In the process of writing it down, you may never check back on that, but the process of writing it down actually integrates it into another level of your memory. There is a second mind that we have. And sometimes when you have that memory, it's different, vivid memory. Don Juan in the Carlos Castaneda work refers to a recapitulation where you go back and remember your past. There's a second mind. When it experiences everything, it's way more vivid. Have you experienced this? Sometimes you remember, it's a fuzzy blur of a memory that seems like I'm looking at it from a television perspective, and then another that's vivid. That's the other mind. That mind, when it experiences things, is different. So we're trying to get into that second mind. And so in the process of making it our intention, we will learn these lessons to access and understand our memory better. And together, we need to learn these things, share this on my comments. If you learn something, go into my group. Everything's constantly a learning process. Like we said, we're evolving and learning very quickly, everything. So right now, we're dealing with the problem of memory because we're integrating so much information on an energetic level that of course we're going to learn how to deal with memory. It's just like we're any other computer. Eventually the memory is going to hit its speed. We need to max out. We need to change the chip. So we can do that. I think if we make it our intention and learn those lessons, it it may evolve into something we don't understand eventually, about how to be conscious and remember things.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I've noticed that I have a sleep tracking ring, and some of the and you can get little gaps in the night where your heart rate drops down, but I noticed that when I do like a quantum meditation, I get a big gap. And so and in the two rates that it measures and things, so I know that I'm going somewhere, not sure where. And of course, then I'm not bringing, sorry, I've got a moth. It's very late here. It's about 2 a.m. here. I'm in the UK.
Oh.
And I've got a moth bothering me.
I'm honored that you stayed up for me. That's awesome.
Well, I did a meditation, then we'll come back to you.
All right.
So, yeah, I go somewhere. It feels like really deep. And I don't want to do like you was talking earlier, the intensity of the importance of trying to hold that memory. It'd be like trying to grab water. You're not going to be able to do it. So you've got to kind of relax into it, but you want to bring back anything you get given or learn in those fields, don't you? And I guess I just kind of trying to trust that it's in the subconscious somewhere and it will come to the surface when I need it.
That's what you have to do. And then it's a reliance on your own intuition based on things you may already have forgotten, but it's still deep in there. And so it's a learning how to understand our impressions that we're getting, those sensory impressions that may be feeding off deeper memories that we have.
Thank you, Tallulah. I see Marie with her hand up.
Hi.
Hey, Marie, how's it going?
I'm good. Thank you for these things and the password.
Thank you.
Okay, so my question is when I listen to your material, I get very excited and very preachy to my husband. So how can I just do that for myself?
I know how you feel. You can ask my wife. But I have learned that, you know, in general, you're in your own spiritual learning, even in the closest of relationships. And, you know, you can talk about stuff as long as you're, you know, not trying to manipulate them or impose your will on them. And you may have opportunities where it feels natural and just normal conversation, where you don't have to actually claim the truth, because their truth is their own truth in a multidimensional consciousness. Their truth actually may be different than yours, even if what you believe is true is different what they believe. But as you introduce these higher level of truths that go beyond all that, they'll start to see it for themselves. And as you introduce it as questions, a lot of times you can ask questions, and that's not really imposing your will, but you can ask questions. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? What if? Isn't it interesting? What if it's possible? You know, you start to bring up possibilities and you make it fun. You know, there's a real problem we have in just general and being able to communicate. We take everything so damn seriously, you know, especially when it comes to spirituality. And so everybody always has to be right. You're never going to win an argument, right? I had to learn that the hardest way. I'm a debater. I went to college and debated for 4 years, and there you always lose whatever argument you're in, no matter if you're right, no matter how right you are, you always lose. So you have to do it without arguing, right? So because sometimes you care about people, they're people that you love and you want them to have this knowledge and information, but you don't want to violate their free will. And so you can introduce it, but, you know, don't make it important. Don't make it, it's not a big deal. It's jokey. And then some people, it's not going to work. They're not going to listen to your information that you're going to give, and that's fine. We still love them the same. We still that, and there may be other situations. They'll slowly see the truth. And then we just continually want to find the truth. We look for the truth. The truth comes into our lives. We are an expression of the truth. People can't deny it. And that's the best way you can do it, right?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Marie.
Thank you, Marie. I see Terry with a hand up. Whenever you're ready, Terry.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Hello, Brian.
Hey,
Just
Terry,
love.
how's it going, Queen Mom?
Really good. I love that Neville Goddard thing you did this afternoon. It just answered so many questions for me about the system and we're the new earth, and it's right now. It's not like something in the distant future. We're creating it now, like laying the blueprint in
right now.
Right now. So I'm like, oh, okay. So my question, I have been dealing with the digestive issues for quite some time, since even before COVID, because there's the truth about it. My son and I used to live in our car for quite some time, and in the church and at different people's homes and whatnot. And Neville Goddard's teachings is what got us into the hotel a week before everything shut down on the planet. Okay.
Wow.
Even though I didn't even know I just knew something was weird. And I said, we're getting out of here. Okay. And then I found you then. Mm-hmm. And so fast forward in different hotels, blah, blah, blah. May 18th, we got the keys to our own 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment. Okay. Mm-hmm. So with the help of a great life coach that just started working with me April 1st, and then the place manifested the following month. So I'm just now starting to feel at home where I am. Mm-hmm. From so long being in fight or flight, looking over my shoulder, driving, mm-hmm. that kind of thing. And so I know with the digestive stuff, there's some stuff that's flared up, where it got uncontrollable. So I'm asking, what do you do? Is solar plexus. So, and I know that that's where we store all of our, emotions and feelings, the good ones and the bad ones, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And what I want to know is, what is a good technique to clear or clear that area? Because that's the most powerful area of the body. We're receiving the light codes and the upgrades through the sun, and it's right in the solar plexus. And so I'm looking, you were talking about that baggage, getting rid of that baggage, ancestral baggage. Oh, you hit the nail on that one. And I had been asking the divine, okay, so what really is this? And they said old unexpressed emotions. Okay, are they all mine, or my mama and my daddy and everybody else down the line, right? And either way, how to heal, how to release and liberate that area, because the new frequencies coming in, man, it's like there's a resistance there, obviously. Mm-hmm. I need that to move,
I totally understand.
Move, and I'm like, I got to know how to let whatever that baggage is go.
So it's actually probably a combination of the root, sacral, and the solar plexus. Mm-hmm. They all seemingly are involved. The root is really about feeling secure. You may have had a long time that you had the root chakra closed. Obviously, when you're moving from hotels, how can you not? I mean, only a grand wizard can keep their root chakra open when they're homeless, because that's the ultimate level of lack of security that you're in that moment, right? So you have a lot of bottled up energy, first of all, that you had from that time until you felt more comfortable. Yeah. So you may have started feeling that safety, that security. And so that energy still has something, it needs to go somewhere. When we have earthquakes on the planet, that's because there's energy we have in the planet that needs to go somewhere. It's the same thing. And so you're also dealing with your power in the solar plexus, your will, and also your drive in the sacral. And there's other, even, more powerful emotions involved in the sacral too. Those creative energies, those things that are there. So the thing is, a lot of times we can't find the cause. And so we can create in part an affirmation where we try to renounce any causes. I renounce any cause that has caused this imbalance in my body, this imbalance in my mind that has caused these. I release them now. You don't need to know, because you may never know. Ultimately, it's a mental.
Yes.
It's mental. And so and then I do recommend doing some sort of Kriya or some sort of Qigong work where you're moving the body. And this is really prevalent when you see people that suffer from PTSD. Yeah. You'll see people that do tapping exercises, and there's an energy flow in your body that's even without your chakras being open. It's moving through all the nadis and all these pivot points in your body. And, just by tapping, even your forehead a little, going through the full tapping procedure, your collarbone, doing that tapping process, you get those energies moving. So, you start tapping your tummy and your kidneys, the middle area. You start swinging around, you start moving around, and hang upside down. The energy gets lodged in there. All right. So if you have the ability to do a headstand, do a headstand, do a little bit of handstand. I have gravity boots. I have an inversion table, and if you can do that, there's different yoga moves that you can kind of get the energy flowing opposite of you. But it's another thing that works when you have energy locked in like that, and in the affirmations, you're doing the affirmations, is those little mini trampoline. Shakes up the energy, gets it going, or a vibration machine. Sometimes you can get a pretty cheap one. It's surprising. All right.
I have a vibration machine.
Yeah, when you feel that, go and do the vibration machine. And you don't even have to go all the way to the highest level. All the levels have some effect. You can feel it, because sometimes a lot of vibration machines have like 20 or 30 levels or 50. You can feel where it stops at your stomach. When you do the vibration, it moves up. Sometimes it's so fast it's kind of in the head. And then just let it vibrate, and then just feel the flow of breath going in. Kyle has some really good breathing exercises, but there are some really good breathing exercises that you can do. Diaphragmatic breathing is super powerful. If you follow Stephen Barnes, he's a writer. He's written on Twilight Zone. I interviewed him. He's awesome. And I went and got a chance to meet Stephen Barnes, and he said it all started, he came up and like touched my diaphragm, like, and I could feel it. Like if you just sit, and everybody now just sit and breathe and expand your tummy. Some people can't do it. I unfortunately I can do it because I played the clarinet, and my grandfather taught me how to breathe in the diaphragm. But what may be happening is that you're not breathing diaphragmatically. What happens is you breathe in the top part when you're nervous. It's all in your head, right? Yeah. And you're losing that diaphragmatic breath. So the diaphragmatic breath will overwhelm those feelings that you get in your stomach. There's some really good probiotics that you can do. You know what I recommend? I do a spoonful of ghee every day. I got that from Sadhguru, and you can even do that if you want to replace your breakfast. That's something I do as a part of my routine. A spoonful of ghee and honey. Get the highest grade. You can get some really good honeys that are medical grade honey.
Manuka.
I do Manuka. I do but there's a number value for the Manuka. Do the highest one that you can get. You spend a little bit extra, especially if you're struggling with your stomach. Put a little bit of the Manuka with, and there's some really bad ghee, and there's some good ghee out there. If you find the good one in the bottle, there's a really good, creamy, perfect, wonderful ghee. That stuff is so good. You can do a ghee and honey and literally replace all your meals. Someday you could just do ghee and honey and for a full day and you would feel fine. Something about that oil goes down like it's like it liquefies you, and then the honey is really powerful. There's some really good teas, that you can do that. Some peppermint teas.
I got that.
So everybody's physical body is always going to be more complex than everybody else's. But my intuition says that it's just that energy that's locked. And hey, good for you, man. You got it. You got your energy from your root up into your stomach after all that happened. A lot of people are still locked in their root. That means that perhaps your root opened. And then the sacral wasn't ready for it because it hadn't gotten the energy that it's not used to that big rush of energy. You feel relaxed. Suddenly if you felt secure lately, what you may be dealing with is that your more energy is moving to the orange ray. And also orange ray is related to relationships. If you have people dominating you, that can also be related to that so people dominate you, you can feel it. Also, you have energetic links or cords that can occur in that area, and it can manifest as feelings of discomfort in your stomach. So you may want to also, in a meditative state, cut the cord. If there's somebody that you're connected to, that may be related.
Release them in a helium balloon is what my teacher told me. And then I think about a week later that the people called me and said they was moving to Vegas. I was, oh, okay. Okay. I like that first thing you said about was releasing, what was that? Releasing all, you don't have to know what it is.
You don't need to know the cause. Do we really ever know the true cause?
Really?
For instance, when my Facebook group went down, I want to know why, but I never will know why. I mean, I'll never know why. I don't know what it is, or something happened. And so you start to create causes.
You're right.
Causes. You make
Okay.
excuses. Okay. Maybe it's the Reality Revolution name or that one episode I did.
Yeah.
And so I started creating more negative causes. So that's a feedback loop. You maybe trying to find, there is some hidden unknown subconscious reason. So call it out. Right now, I call it out. This is no more. I read a really wonderful book today for a future episode. She was a witch, and she would always say when something negative would happen, this is no more a part of the law. You declare it outside of the law. So just declare that this, my stomach is no more a part of the law. I release it from all consequences of the law. The laws of cause and effect have reached this point, but you release it from the law. And you have the power to release it from the law. When you release it from the law, it's no more a part of the problem, right? So
I'm right in what you're saying. Okay.
All right.
Yes. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you, Terry. Man, this has been an action-packed meeting. I see Love manifest with a hand up.
Hey, Love, what's up?
Hi, Brian. So nice to see you face to face.
Hey.
Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
I have a question for you. So you've talked a lot about, with your experience with your channel and what led you, to start that. And it being kind of like your own little breadcrumb trail. We all start, I think when we realize that we're creating our own reality, maybe it's with law of attraction or, reality transurfing, and we might want to, manifest a certain thing or an amount of money. It kind of starts in one place. But as you begin to expand and assimilate and integrate all this different material and realize that it all kind of meshed together, and then you talk about where you made that choice of service to others, and I know in my life things really started to shift. How has your desires to manifest change? Like, are you still trying to quantum jump to a certain timeline? Are you still, trying to micro jump? Are you trying to do a big jump? Or are you just trying to align to the highest and best, because things are, we're speeding up, our dominant resonant frequencies are speeding up, we're integrating aspects of our fractal selves, we're channeling, how has that changed? And how are you going about that process now versus, back then?
So it's a constant evolution in understanding my desire and understanding what I want to manifest and experience in my own life. All my dreams came true, and they continue to come true. And now I put myself in a pattern where my dreams, the things that are happening are beyond what I dreamed could come true. And amazing miracles on a regular basis that I dare to mention because I know I will take away their power. They continue to happen. Things are so amazing and so wonderful that now I desperately want everybody to have this, because I had the realization I'm not competing with anybody. Everybody in the whole world can have it at the same time. And so I just overwhelmingly, I feel guilty when I go to bed because I didn't do enough. Because you see somebody on the street and you give them, they need $20, you give them $20, but you could do so much more if only you knew. And so, those initial periods were understanding my relationship with the inner and the outer. It's all little baby lessons. What's happening at the beginning of quantum jumping is what I talk about in the law of attraction. It's just like a baby opening its eyes. All I'm learning to do is how to see. That's not a really big deal. I don't really think about seeing anymore. When we go back, well, that was an important thing when I first opened my eyes and it was all bright, and then slowly things started to come into focus, and then I could see. Well, I was really trying to see. It was all blobs and stuff. And now I can see, and I don't go around talking about myself seeing anymore, because I just see, right? So what we're doing is we're like baby souls that are opening our eyes to the ability to create our reality. And it seems like it's complicated, but really it's just a very basic initial step. So what I've learned is excuse me, I'm going into a relationship with the Creator, understanding his creation. I'm understanding creating. I'm understanding, and then I start, as I create new things, pieces of art, songs that I want to write, things that I want to write, as I create, I become closer to this creating essence, this power. And it goes beyond me jumping into a reality or creating some particular thing. As I'm becoming closer and closer to this creating power. And then suddenly this creating power is working through me, and I'm sort of with it at the same time. And we're co-creating, and I'm co-creating everything. My life, when I look out right now, since I got a lot of bird feeders around the house, put some hummingbird feeders, we just got all these birds, and we figured out ways to put butterflies. I walk outside and I'm like in this paradise where these butterflies, there's a squirrel over there walking up the tree because we put some nuts down, and I'm in a paradise in my life that I've slowly imagined and created. And then tomorrow it gets even better. And so I put myself in an evolutionary tract of reality creation, benefiting everybody with no violation of free will. And so you come from this idea as I have to dominate. You may have been taught when you're kids in the society, in the world that we live in, that I have to dominate others. If I win, somebody loses. It's a competition, right? And so if my channel does well, somebody's has to fall apart, right? Or if that book sells well, then my book won't do as well. And that's not how it works. And so it's a really hard thing. I meet so many people that deep down still believe that. They'll tell me to their face they don't, but they deep down still believe they're like one of many, right? And so it's a learning process. As we learn in the quantum jumping and all of that, it all becomes a part of the overall learning process. And every day the creator is teaching me a new lesson, and I'm evolving a new reality, and I'm learning to become an artist in the same way that God is. And I'm learning why he created trees. And I'm learning why the air and how trees, and so many little things, and why the fish were created, and in the creation process and I'm little things. As I learn more and more, I see the essence and understanding. Everything becomes this amazing Fibonacci sequence.
Yeah.
Where anything that I look into, it just keeps on going. For instance, I love black shirts. I love black shirts, right? So my thing is, I don't want to make a choice when I wake up. I got my black shirt. I'm going to put my black shirt. But then I really want to focus. I want to get the best black shirt. So I start focusing on black. And Buckle has a great black shirt, but the Buttercloth has a good one. So does Woolen Prince. Woolen Prince is pretty solid. Then there's some cashmere black shirts that are just amazing, right? Then there's
so many variations.
And there's a company called Pistol Lake. And the next thing you know, I have 20 black shirts. They're all black. Some of them feel better. They're cooling effect. Some of them are, maybe they're more wool, but they don't get wet, right? And so everything that you start to focus on just becomes more and elaborate, more infinite, and never stops. And so whatever I start creating, and so I'm just enjoying infinity and trying to take what I've learned from this infinity and share it with everyone else. And it's just constantly expanding. And as I open my eyes more, I'm going to learn how to maybe speak someday. I'm still just a baby, right? We're just learning, right? Awesome.
Absolutely. The other question I have to ask then is, because I feel exactly that same way. We live in a space where there's birds, and I just, I get caught. We feed these wild turkeys, and there's deer, and there's these trees, and you just get caught in it sometimes, that everything becomes so much more magical, And how do you personally, one thing I tend to struggle with is, now that everything's opening up, like you're saying, and it's all just coming in all the time, and there's, sometimes it seems like there's just so much information, and there's so much to know. How do you really, obviously to be the observer, but how do you specifically try to tackle all the little fractal pieces in a day, or organize all of the different ideas that are coming in for you? Do you have a method of, organizing all of it?
Chaos for me, probably. A little bit. I mean, I have my methods. Information overload is not a thing. I don't like it when people say that, because I think it's BS. We've created a structure where we believe, oh, too much information is too complicated. We are geniuses. We can take all the information in. If I want to read a freaking book like Urantia, and then I integrate it with the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita, and I want to have it all there, I'm not too complicated. I will never limit myself in that case. So I'm addicted to information. And I realize this may be a problem. I'm aware of the effects of information, but it's on a soul level for me, a personal mission from where I come from, that I have been deemed with a task of, at a minimum, if I failed in my incarnation, when I understood where I'm from and what I have to do and what my purpose is, if at a minimum I utterly failed and just was a drunk on the street, I was reading everything no matter what. My mission was to acquire as much information as possible. And that has included fictional information, constant. And I have just come to a point where, the really stuff that resonates me, that will stick there. And I take the information, I affirm to myself that it's enhancing my situation, that it will come to me when I need it. And I go with the flow of it. And I mean, today I did a 2.5 hour episode on the podcast of an author I'd never heard of before. But I came down, walked into my office, and I started going through some other libraries, and then it said you also read, and then you checked also read, and then another, and then also read, and I found an older PDF, and I started reading about this person, and super fascinating, and the way they explained everything was so good, and then I was super excited, and I'm reading it, and usually it's an hour podcast, but next thing you know, it's 2.5 hours, and I had never heard of her when I woke up this morning, and now I'm totally know her. She's been talking to me when I read the whole thing. And it's so exciting. There's a level of excitement that I've added to information. Do you like Rick and Morty? Do you watch Rick and Morty?
Yes.
Did you watch the episode where they're in the hell world where all pain equals pleasure? So like, oh, that hurts, but I love it so much, right?
Yes.
They program themselves so that pain equals pleasure, right? Program yourself so that information equals pleasure. And then all of a sudden you'll be like, wow, I can integrate this information. It will work for me. It's not even if I don't, So, but information, the way you treat information may be the same way you treat money. Is that too much money? Is that too much information? Right? They're both good. You want to have both. You want to look at it just like money. I want an abundance of information, right? So that's the way I look at it. And that's, some people may not. Everybody to their own free will. That is my purpose, right?
Yeah, you're like a living Akasha. You're
wish,
like building like a living
someday,
Akashic record.
At a minimum, I would hope that as a single incarnational unit, somebody could access my archive and get like a lot of information. Go to the Brian Scott Stacks or Brian Binkson, my actual name. You can find some pretty information. He probably read about it somewhere along there. There may be hubs of information. That's the only purpose. It's somebody has to gather the information. I believe the Akashic, there will be a point where everybody will start to really access so instantaneously. It's going to be a whole other level of understanding, which then creates other spiritual levels that we will go through. What we're experiencing now takes about 75,000 to 100,000 years for a soul to really understand. But what we experience next takes 5 million years, right? So this is just a blip. What we're learning, we think it's all really hard and important, but we're just babies waking up. So
awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. It was nice to meet you, Love Manifest.
It was nice to meet you. Yeah.
Thank you, Love Manifest.
Thank you, Kyle.
How we doing, Brian? Got time for a few more?
We got time for a couple more. Yeah, sure.
You want to channel your higher self?
I could.
Are you feeling it?
I don't have a blindfold, but I'll do my best. I've only done it that one time for the Reality Con, so.
It was amazing. We'll take one more question and then we'll go into your higher self. That sound good?
Okay, we'll do that.
All right, Tina, go ahead.
Hey, Brian, I'm Tina. Nice to finally meet you.
What's up, Tina?
So I wrote this out so I wouldn't mess it up. So I put, love is another major player in ascension. I know my definition of love has changed and I'm opening up more. I have been having crazy connections with people on a deep soul level lately. What are your thoughts on this? Is the institution of a traditional marriage still relevant for transformation to the new reality?
It's a great question. It's tough to answer. I think it's going to be a little bit different in everybody's case, but we're all structured in a certain way that we've been indoctrinated for so long that it may be incredibly difficult for us to overcome some of our deep hidden constructions of what anything else other than a standard marriage. In the Law of One material, when Ra became fourth density, they indicated that they found the most effective was a singular pairing between two people. I love my wife, and it's a perfect situation. And we she enables me in so many ways. It's and I reach higher levels of consciousness because of her. The idea that we're limited to one person has not been, in some times in our past, the truth, right? It's completely different on some levels. And so everybody's a little bit different. If they're open, if their heart is open to other ideas of partnership, on a spiritual level and physical love oriented level, then I do think that is possible, if it works the right way, coming from a loving situation. I mean, aren't we all soulmates? Couldn't we really find a true loving pairing with everybody that we meet? I find that I fall in love with everybody. I could find and look at everybody, and I can totally have a crush on everybody. If you've reached that point, it's going to be hard for us, right? Because we're going to have love for our partners, but when the love grows, it's not just physical, but how it will obviously express itself, because the love is so powerful. You can't help differentiate it. It's just powerful love. It's such a blissful love that you have for someone that it's going to express itself in those other ways. And we're going to have to deal with it. Once we have a knowing access to the Akashic and we really know people, it's going to be like a conscious knowing, deep, like this is your best friend in the world, everybody you meet. You're going to know all the stuff about them, and it's going to be all good. They're going to know everything about you. You're going to trust them, or you're not going to trust them. You're going to know that you're going to know deep down what they really are all about. And everybody you meet is going to be like that. So, wow, that's going to be a sort of a different environment for love in terms of physical relationships, right? But I think that's going to be a long ways away. We create our reality collectively, and our collective reality has created enough that there's enough jealousy and doubt, and the numbers probability wise don't look good for people that go beyond those classic definitions. But anything's possible. I do envision thousands of years from now, it's just a big old orgy, man. Everybody's all having a great time, and it's perfect light and love, and it's right. It's probably all virtual anyway, right? Who knows?
Yeah. My husband said 1,000 years.
1,000, yeah, we can pull it off in 1,000. It'll happen, right? But probably not right now.
What's that?
Probably not at this moment in time, but
right. Okay.
In the future, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
There's going to be some realization where we connect the creative energy of sexuality to a connection with actual intelligent infinity, where it goes beyond just sex magic. It becomes a spiritualized thing that we can document and experience, and then something's going to happen. I don't know. We'll see. But I have a feeling that there's going to be a sort of evolution in our understanding of energy when that happens. I don't know if Kyle had that. When I talked to Raw of Earth, he was mentioning the Mary of Magdalene script. Did he mention that to you?
No.
He was saying that there's a channeled word from Mary Magdalene that she used sex magic with Jesus and someone else as a part of his awakening, right?
Wow.
It was all agreed upon, but I was like, okay. I'd not heard that. I have to check it out, but I certainly wouldn't be surprised, right?
Yeah, he briefly got into Egyptian sex magic.
Sex magic, right? Yeah. The stuff that I've read about sex magic has been terrible, right? The Aleister Crowley stuff, it's mean and vindictive. It's manipulative, So some of the examples of sex magic out there is not.
Are there any you've come across that you recommend?
I just think that if you're in a loving relationship with somebody that you really love, that you can use your relationship together as a fusion to make your manifestations and even more powerful. On the Reality Con, I have that meditation that you can do with your partner. I think that's really powerful. You can do a collective meditation together, where you together create for each other. And you can start doing blessings before you have, when you are in love with each other and you are lovingly together, you can add blessings beforehand. You can bless the room. You can ask the creator that the love that you create increases the vibration of the whole planet. That you can start using your love in positive ways, and then you become like this. You end up using magic. You're not realizing it, because I think that every time that we do anything in that way, it is a creative power. It is treated as if it is magic.
I just have this overwhelming, like only for like a couple of people, but it's like this weird, overwhelming, energetic soul level, and I don't understand what's going on, because that's not really who I am, but lately it is. It's just weird. I don't know. Maybe it's just a me thing.
I think it's happening to a lot of people. When we start to just know people, that knowing is going to increase, and it's part of the process. I do. I think that a lot of people will say that's happening. Mm. Connections are growing deeper for everyone on many levels.
Gotcha.
Thank you, Tina.
Thank you.
So that was awesome. I didn't know if do you want to just maybe close with a message from your higher self to the collective?
That we'll do that next time.
All right, yeah, that sounds good.
More time.
That sounds good.
But the bottom line is that you create your reality, and that we create our reality together, and together we can create a new operating system in a whole new different reality. Collectively, we're creating a reality now. We have created it up to this point, and we also have limited ourselves to the reality and cause and effect environment that we exist in now. But we can change that collectively. If we collectively start imagining things that may be beyond miraculous, we can create the new earth now together. And so I'm calling on people to continue to think of that. When you're in meditation, make sure you also, imagine the planet on a different level, something miraculous. Imagine the planet in a new level of consciousness. Imagine major problems that we have being overcome. Imagine major problems in your life and the lives of others being overcome. We can do that. We can do that, man. I know that there are people here listening that still don't think we can. It's a lost cause. And in this world of the social media where we are all in our own reality bubbles all the time, it can be frightening because we can see that everybody's alone, even though they're together. But the truth is we're not. And if you open your heart and you connect to these ideas will float to you. And I know that we're getting help. I know that there are higher beings that are helping us. There's newer energies that are being introduced to us. We're getting new opportunities being given to us. And if we collectively do it together, we all have a certain part of a master clockwork where we have come together like the Avengers to make this planet, to change the world, to change the universe. And it's time for us to do that now.
Let's get it, brother.
All right, brother.
All right. If everyone, you can unmute yourself, say thank you, whatever you want to say. That was amazing. There was so much unbelievable information in that meeting. It's truly an honor to be a part of the reality revolution with everybody here.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Beautiful.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Brian.
Hey, Greg, what's up?
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Brian.
you, Brian.
Everyone say I sleep with Brian Scott.
That's right.
That's so true.
Hey, a manifestation occurs from high school. Right. No, but thank you so much, guys. And send that over, Kyle.
You got it, brother.
Our brother.
It's on its way.
Great. We'll talk soon. Peace
Love
out.
you guys. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. This was fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you.